Welcome back, closers, to the Siro Sales Academy powered by Grosso University. Again, Dominic, Dan, and Joe back in the studio. We're honored to dive into another important topic, another important step of our 11-step process, which is the company story. This happens to be step 5, and of course, a very foundational step in the entire process, especially when it comes to building trust. So what we're going to do is break down the elements of a properly executed company story and, of course, demonstrate how Siro can help you maximize this critical step in the sales process. And, of course, when it comes to any company story, Dan, what's one of the primary goals that the sales rep is trying to achieve in the company story?
Well, we're trying to differentiate in a way that builds trust while driving a wedge between you and your company and the rest of the field, the entire industry.
In a way, I almost want them to fear that if they give their business to really anybody else, they have a high probability that what could happen.
Well, it's going to go sideways on them.
Right. And again, the biggest thing is, and this is what I used to preach to my salespeople all the time, if they don't trust your company, if they're not completely convinced that you are the company they want doing the work, you really have no business trying to sell them any product or solution, because any product or solution is only as good as what? How it's installed. What do you think is a foundational element of doing a good company story?
Storytelling?
Yeah. Storytelling. Now, I'm sure we can all agree that some of the best salespeople are expert storytellers, right? Why do you feel that storytelling is a really important component of effective selling, especially when talking about the company?
Originally, knowledge was passed down through stories, right? Before we had writing, is that it's what makes things memorable. And why does it make things memorable? Because it gets people emotionally invested in what's going on. And most company stories, like the text of it is actually designed to match that narrative structure. But oftentimes we hear reps just listing off stats about the company or doing it in a random order that's different from the way that it's written down. But it's actually designed to be in that order for a very specific reason, to produce that emotional investment that has the customer at the end not just informed, but invested.
So I couldn't agree more. So you talked about keying to the emotions. Anytime somebody, whether it's a child or an adult, their imagination drifts off into story time, targets the emotional center of their brain directly. And it's also one of the ultimate ways to hold a listener's attention. So Rick Grosso explained it to me this way. He said, storytelling is a way you can tell somebody something without actually telling them. So storytelling gives you the opportunity to implant positive imagery and movie B-roll in their mind. So depending on what I'm trying to fuel, I can control that. Because if I'm trying to fuel the worst thing that could happen if they make the wrong decision, I can put imagery in their mind that would key to that fear of loss.
Hey closers, it's Dan Coomes-Barry from Grosso University. I'm the sales trainer who runs our monthly Sales Academy Masterclass, where we walk you through our 11-step process for in-home sales in the home improvement industry. This process is perfect for salespeople of any level of experience, whether you're green coming right into the field or you've been doing this for 30 years. We promise you that you're going to learn something that you can take out that day and help you close business. From my personal experience, I know that many homeowners that you talk to are looking to work with a credible expert who is knowledgeable, but they don't like being sold. The beautiful part about this process is it can be tailored for any personality type, any problem you may run into, and we're going to go through this in such a detail-oriented manner that you'll be prepared for any situation. From walking up and knocking on the door all the way through buttoning up the deal, we will teach you the nuanced art form that is one-call closing. This is a skill set that helped me make multiple six-figure income for years and years, and now, because I get to sit on this side of the camera, I get to pass that skill set along to you. I hope you're up to the task, because I'll tell you, this is a 145-page book that we train over a 2-week span. It is coupled with our 11-part video series that's broken down so it's easy to digest. No matter what type of learner you are, we accommodate you. Now, at the end of our 2-week training process, you will have to pass a final exam, and it's not easy. You'll have to score at least an 85% on this final exam in order to become a certified sales warrior through the Grosso University program. And that's where the hard work begins. But if you're up to the task and you want to make life-changing money and cultivate a skill set that will permeate into all areas of your life, I invite you to join me in the Sales Academy Masterclass. We have classes that start on the second Monday of every month, and I look forward to seeing you in class. And as always here at Grosso University, yes, you are a closer.
And the opposite is true. The thing is all human beings make decisions hypothetically before they ever make them a reality. And I always like to think that the homeowner, in a way, is playing two different movies in their mind. The one movie is, what could go wrong if I hire this company and it backfires and make the wrong decision? And the positive movie is, what could go right if I hire the right company, if I hire this company and everything goes like sunshine and rainbows, right? The dream comes true. So my job is, of course, to pour fear of loss into, if they hire anybody but us, the alternatives to what we offer, and then hope of gain, pour jet fuel in that positive movie in the mind of all the amazing things that are going to occur when our crews arrive to the property, when this job is getting completed from start to finish. And of course, storytelling allows you to play that movie in their mind, allows you to implant that imagery in a very powerful way. Because what if the homeowner had a bad experience with a contractor in the past, and I haven't gotten them to open up about that? What's going to happen in the close inevitably?
They're going to need more bids. They're going to procrastinate because you are the exact same as the last guy who screwed them over. That's a trauma response. If we don't open it up and deal with it, we're screwed.
Yeah, if you don't get it out in the open in the company story, or even prior to that, you're going to get an objection in the end that sounds like the following. Well, Dom, last time we hired the first contractor that came in, we got burned, and we made a promise to each other we're never going to do that again. So yeah, we're going to get 18,000 other estimates. You're the first person in here, okay? Never make a decision on the first night.
We'll never be comfortable anyway, so we're never going to do this. I'll see you guys in 5 years.
Yeah, right. So now if I get that out in the open proactively, and I always say the great thing is if they had a good experience or a bad experience with the contractor, you want them to talk about it. So why would I want them to share if they had a good experience with a contractor? Why would that be beneficial?
It's the roadmap to the sale. Tell me more about that. Why was it such a great experience? Oh, that's funny. Our company does it the exact same way.
They're going to help you pave out the company's story. They're literally disclosing what's important to them and what they valued about their previous experience. So, of course, I want to key to those things. They're going to tell you, again, how to sell them, how to sell your company. And, of course, if they had a bad experience, I want to use that as an opportunity to differentiate, separate myself from those types of companies, and, of course, educate them that they're just another unfortunate statistic in this industry because this is the number one industry for complaints, dissatisfaction, bankruptcies, right? And this is why we do business differently, because the industry, unfortunately, has a very corrupt and bad reputation. So now I can separate myself. So whether I'm kind of uniting with those quality experiences they've had or separating myself from the horrific experiences they've had, either way, they're going to help pave out your company story for them and speak to what's most important to them. That's only going to happen if you ask the right questions.
If it's just laying out a resume, people are thoroughly unimpressed. And that's what a lot of sales reps do. They go from discovery, open-ended questions to fact. And your resume only loosely correlates to whether or not you have any idea what the hell you're doing. If your resume was always right, nobody would ever make a bad hire. So if you can engage people and tell a story, and the moral of the story keys into a component of your company and the way you do things, and the homeowner jumps on that as something that's valuable, that's one data point of differentiation that's actually valuable. It's hitting the what's in it for them part of their brain.
Right.
Then rinse and repeat. You know, our company story had like 42 slides in it. Every customer I talked to cared about 5 to 7 of those slides, but it's different in every house. I can do a company story in 3 minutes. I can do a company story in 30 minutes. It depends on the prospect and what they need. But if you're not using the right communication tools, the whole thing's going to fall apart because nobody cares about your resume.
I had this thought in my mind when I went into every house that I wanted to be so comprehensive and provide these homeowners with such a world-class education that they could literally go run a lead right after that and close the damn thing. That's only going to happen if you bring up topics that maybe they don't know. Like, for example, I had this sale that I had. It was a siding job, like 40 grand. In the company story I brought up, you're going to get a lot of these unlicensed, uninsured companies that mandate you pull your own permit. If that ever happens, you better run for the hills because that means they're not licensed. Now, let me ask you a question. What type of warranty do you think you have with an unlicensed contractor, John and Mary? And how are you going to know if they're not licensed, if they're going to install anything up to code or according to the specs of the state of Wisconsin? Now, why do you think it is that they're not licensed? Maybe it's a little bit more what? Can you clearly see how a company like that could undercut legitimate companies on price by cutting corners in every facet of this job? We have 2 quotes from companies and they both wanted us to get the permit. Again, you're free to make your own decision, but my best advice is you should run for the hills because if they're requiring that you get your own permit, guess who's liable for anything that could and would go wrong? Because now they have a free pass to cut corners in every facet of this job, which is, you know, uninsured, cheap products, not installing things properly, not proper underlayment, stuff like that. So it's important that as I'm going through this company story, I'm erring the side of being more comprehensive in detail, but making it a conversation. Again, keen to the emotion. There's analogies, there's storytelling. This is why storytelling is important. If I'm going to spend 20, 30, 40 minutes on the company story, I got to be dialed in terms of all these sales tactics that we talk about. So the company story at the end of the day, when I finish, I want them to be so convinced that we are the company for the job that I can get the following commitment. If I can demonstrate to you a product or service that you absolutely love, and I promise you're going to love it, and we can exceed your expectations on affordability, so far would Grosso University have earned the right to ask for your business when you're ready?
Definitely.
I appreciate that. It means the world. For me, the way I translate that is if I don't screw up my demo, I'm really this close to earning their business, because that's a major hurdle and obstacle. You do a good enough company story, comprehensive enough, and you get that major commitment, get a handshake. That's their physical contract with you. That conversation's over. I'm taking that key to the getaway car, putting it in my back pocket, and now it's time to get into evolution, the product presentation. The reps that get a commitment on the company at the end of their company story, you can actually see a pretty big performance difference between those reps and the reps that seem to bypass that step entirely. Can you speak to what you're seeing in the Siro data, and if I'm a rep watching this, how I can access those key moments?
The data just clearly shows that the top reps are actually doing a company commitment at a much higher rate than everyone else. Why don't reps do a company commitment? Sometimes they're afraid of rejection, as you pointed out. Sometimes they just feel like it's weird to tee up a question like that at the end of the company story. If you want to hear real examples of how you can weave it in really naturally, just queue up company story, top reps, and create a playlist of yourself of how the top reps are doing it. And you'll find it's really not that scary, and you can try it yourself.
So it doesn't matter how great your product is. If the prospects do not trust your company completely head over heels, you're not going to be able to earn their business. So we definitely recommend to master your company's story, work on executing this with your peers, key to those precious moments from top performers, keep leveraging Siro, take Joe's advice, and on behalf of the three of us here in the studio, yes, you are a closer.